Look, I get this is a hard pill to swallow for some of y'all, but while there are definitely lies, there are lies in the world, okay? We need to stop chasing this idea that you're not constantly opening a new timeline with every fucking breath and choice you make, okay? Like, you need to stop pretending there is one timeline of events where it is an unshakable fact that this person or individual did this and then this person responded in this way. I'm here to tell you that timeline exists, but so does the timeline where they didn't do that and it was someone else. I get it, we're suspicious, everyone's always lying to us and stuff. I get that. But like, you're just like using that to, you need to settle down, okay? Like, this is why we just want to give you doses of the truth, okay? Because you get a little bit too aggressive with it, and then you use it to like tell other people they're wrong, and then to like falsely insert a narrative sometimes where they're malicious when they're not. You know, like, oh, you're just giving into this lie of like, sometimes, okay, maybe. But certainly that doesn't mean other people's experiences with these things are necessarily completely false. It could just be a different interpretation of a multidimensional truth. Is that possible? Is it possible that the same entity can have different versions of itself that remembers different timelines? That maybe made different choices? I need you to think of this. Like, it's not just a matter of like only putting a piece of ourselves in like a body. It's also the reason you can exist simultaneously in a physical body and in spirit form. Not just one spirit form, by the way, many. Okay, many. You have multiple higher selves. You just do. You have to be okay with that. It's the same with the elder gods and stuff. They're like, in many ways, I understand why people can't not view them as the same as God, but like, that's, they're not the all still. It just shows you how extensive the all actually is, right? If they're able to do that, imagine what like the true like God that is all things is, how omnipresent they are. But yeah, like, you also have timelines where you choose to be incarnated as a physical being, and timelines where you choose not to, and then you can in your spirit form, the boundaries are much more blurred. You can go into the timeline where you chose to become physical and help your physical self. Like, that's, look, I'm not going to claim I know everything. I don't. I can definitely be mistaken about some things, but like, I'm just getting a little bit cross. I'm getting a little bit cross with some of y'all who are so aggressive. I get that it's coming from a good place. You want to like wake people up, but not when it's like coming from a place of like, don't be such an idiot, like, that's not nice. Okay. Like, I get it. You're not here to impress anybody. That's fine. Be frank. Tell people they're a bad person. If they're a bad person, whatever. But like, don't ever forget to be humble. Okay. Don't you ever fucking forget that shit. Okay. Don't forget to be humble. You could be wrong about things. I'm wrong about things. And that stresses me out, because of who I know I am. Because I feel like, oh, I'm not supposed to be wrong about bullshit. I am supposed to be wrong about things. You know why? We're specifically designed to not know everything on our own, because we're supposed to need each other. We're designed to be in a way where we have to rely on each other to keep the fucking universe going, okay? You can't, if you just by yourself knew everything and weren't capable of being wrong about anything, then what use do you have for other people? And I don't just mean humans. I just mean like any kind of conscious presence. Like, what, like, outside of company, like, what is the, like, you're not designed to be able, as a single unit, get everything right, okay? That's for the all, okay? That's for God of all. That's it. Like, and look, how can I say this too? You're too antagonistic about things without understanding that things are just more complicated. They're just more complicated than that. And you need to demonstrate your ability to comprehend this, because we're not living in the fucking caveman times anymore. So you need to demonstrate that you can understand and grasp this, okay? Like, yes, gods and goddesses are real. They don't want you to worship them. Guess what else? A lot of times they were the ones who were reborn as prophets, trying to tell people don't worship idols, because we don't want you to worship us. We want you to find your own divinity in yourself, because you gotta start it off the wrong foot, I guess, and that including me, okay? Considering what I know now. I don't know, I'm still dissecting that. Whatever. But like, some of them didn't have good intentions. It's true, and not all of them were gods. Some of them pretended to be gods. Some of them are gods in their own right. You could argue. They're like gods personifications of like this, variation of darkness and distortion. Whatever. You could make that argument. Okay, like. But like, you don't need to be so. Look, I'm having this problem where people are being really overly antagonistic with like Islam, for example. Has it also been weaponized and like meddled with? Yes, absolutely. They all have. They all have, my dear. Guess what? You know what else is in Islam? It is a core thing. It's in the Quran, by the way. This isn't even a hadith. It's in the Quran. You have to read other books in other religions. You have to. It's a must. You know why they put limitations in Islam and not in other ones? It's not because this is the only way. It's because it's to have a subset of people that are protected from what people would do with that stuff. But then they're limited. Like, for example, music, right? They wanted to have a body of people that would be a little bit more careful about just absorbing like music, like because they knew people would abuse it, like in the music industry, like they've done. That shit can be really satanic sometimes. On the other hand, though, music is very spiritually connecting. It is very empowering. So you also have people who don't have that restriction, who are maybe more vulnerable in ways that group of people who don't listen to music to are more vulnerable in, but in some ways are more empowered than another person. The point is, we sowed seeds into all these because, God's plan is always higher, okay? Like, look, I'm going to be frank with you. I've been resurrected for not good reasons sometimes and through really bad means, but it can't just be reduced to this one bad dude did this once, and that's why. It's also because, like the cell in your body, there's still an extension of the will of God. Like, in some way, God wanted me to keep around. Okay, God wanted me. Okay, like, God wanted me. However, it ended up happening. It happened that way, and that it sucks in certain ways, but like, that's what it is. You can never really truly separate yourself from the will of God, like, because it's gonna happen as it needs to happen. So like, you can say like, well, technically so-and-so did this for this intention. Like, yeah, that might be true, but like, it was still for some reason or another. Maybe it wasn't malicious. Like, it wouldn't have been allowed to happen if it wasn't like an extension in some way. But I'm not saying like God was trying to be malicious and kill everybody with the floods. The floods are just, first of all, there was not just one flood. Okay, you need to get over this. You need to get over the idea that you know what really happened with the one flood that happened in that one timeline once. Like, if you have any idea of how the Earth cycles happen on this planet, you would understand that this is like a normal life cycle. This is a normal life cycle. Now, that's not to absolve people of their part in it, okay? It's not to absolve you from your responsibility. Absolutely fucking not. But like, in many ways, that's just the demonstration of what your understanding of Jormungandr is, or Apep, or Apophis. It's the law of entropy. When you take too much from the earth, a lot of volcanoes are this way too, by the way. They're personifications of spirits that take on so much sin for humanity. And the only way it can go anywhere is if it blows up. And it starts a new cycle. It starts a new cycle of death and rebirth. And you don't have to, some people can view that as malicious. And maybe the smaller element, the smaller cell in the body of God was malicious when they did that. But I don't know. Like, look, like, are you going to go to hell for worshiping gods? Not necessarily. It's not that conditional. And anyway, the hell thing is such a like severely misunderstood and like really reduced idea that people don't really understand. Like, there's a reason it was taught in different variations in different ways. Like, some people, they were taught the karmic cycle, and some people were not ready for the idea of the karmic cycle, so we came up with the fucking idea of like hell or whatever. But like, nothing is punishing you. Like, in many ways, you're doing that to yourself because you want it on some level. Like, or it's the entropy thing. That's what greed is. That's all. Like, again, like, you have to distill it in a way that is like more on the level and capacity of that species understanding. Like, what can they understand? They can understand the concept of greed, the concept of wanting more than you return. That's just like baby entry level understanding of entropy. And entropy is not inherently an evil thing. And I've already talked about this morning, screaming into the fucking room, because of course, people can't leave well enough alone. Like, these things wouldn't exist, right, if there wasn't a need for them to exist, okay? Like black holes, the gravitational black holes are also useful actually, and they allow, and I already said this, not in this channel, it's what allows light to travel in curves in the universe. Otherwise it would just be sharp angles all the time. But because of the gravitational force of gravity, which is in some ways an expression of entropy, not just in some ways, it allows for that kind of mobility that light wouldn't have otherwise, Like, it's the same with entropy. If entropy did not exist as a force, life on Earth wouldn't be possible in the way that it is. And that's not me saying that, like, evil doesn't, like, exist. It definitely can. And that depends on your relationship to it. Also, like, are you actually truly fulfilling the function of what darkness is supposed to be fulfilling? Or, like, listen, when you go too far out of bounds, you need to be brought back in by light. You just do. Like, that's the purpose. That's the purpose of duality even bothering to exist. It's to balance each other, right? Hopefully this idea of duality, like, can stop being so divisive. Like, you don't have to be like, you're either with me or against me. Some things are just not that simple. We want things to be simple. We want things to be easily explained. Let me tell you, most people have a very unique and custom way with how they're dealt, okay? There isn't just like a catch-all. All people are going to burn in this way and that way, whatever the fuck, okay? Like, things are not always going to happen. This is why people will try to prophesize, and they can be wrong about it. And that's why only the all knows exactly the hour. Because there's like countless infinite timelines where it might have happened in another one and you're a different one now because somebody was like, oh shit, we got to change that, Like, just let go of the idea of being right. Because we don't know what we're talking about. None of us do, okay? I don't care. I don't care if you're a reincarnated god or goddess, whatever. You're having a human experience, and part of that deal is you're not going to know things sometimes, and you're going to experience the same limitations as a regular person for the most part, okay? I mean, it's not quite that simple, but for the most part, okay? I'm wrong about stuff a lot. You're probably not right about all things. That's okay. That's the point. The point is you need each other to fucking thrive. That's it, And, maybe it's not so important. It's important to be aware in which the ways you've been lied to, but it's not important that, like, what exactly, I don't know how else to say this. Like, don't be so suspicious of your fellow man. You know what I mean? I get it. Like, we've been conditioned to do that, but in many ways that's like kind of in their favor. That's kind of in your favor for you to be so like ready to fight and be like, no, you're wrong. You're fucking trying to lie to me too. It's like, it's like, oh no, you're probably got parasites in them and stuff. I mean, probably to some extent, people who are less aware don't know these things. They don't know these things, okay? They don't know these things. That doesn't mean they don't have, like, a kernel of something good for you, okay? Like, that's the thing. Like, we gotta treat people on a basis that they're not out to get you. And until you can get past this, you can't have heaven on earth. I'm sorry, okay? It's not a matter of, like, if you deserve it or not, or if you want it badly enough. Like, I mean, it is in many ways if you want it badly, but, like, you need to, like, stop being so antagonistic with each other. Just stop that, okay? Like, it's making me nuts. It's making me nuts that people get into these dumbass arguments on, like, YouTube when it's like, maybe they're not wrong, but it's definitely not correct to say everyone is all wrong about a thing. Like, you don't really truly know that, do you? There could be some aspects of it that are right and some aspects of what you believe that are not right. Like, or maybe you're both right and you got different timelines confused, Like, it's not so important to be right in that scenario, okay? Because it's not about that. The point of exposing this stuff is to empower you and for you to unify with each other, not to use it as more of a means of division, okay? Don't be ridiculous, okay? Stop being like, oh, you're so plugged in. Like, just chill out, honey. It's okay. Like, some people are not ready this lifetime. They're not ready, and that doesn't make them a bad person. It really doesn't. You don't know anything about their spiritual journey. You don't know what their past lives have been like. You don't know what they agreed to. Frankly, it's just not your place. Some people, frankly, just like were too tired and they didn't. Some people definitely do want to just like die and start over and be reborn in a world where that doesn't already have all those like programmings in place, and that's just going to be easier for them. Like, stop looking down on other people. And stop being so mean. Like, you don't need to be mean about it. You don't need to be mean about it. You don't need to be mean about people's... Like, listen, you can be frank about religion. It's been very weaponized. It's been heavily infiltrated. But there's also kernels of truth in there that have been sown by the divine themselves on purpose. Because, again, God's will, his plan is higher. Their plan is always higher, okay? You think you're playing 5D... The enemies or whoever... It wasn't just them, but, like, everyone who thought they were playing this masterful 5D game, well, guess what? God's on, like, the 300 3D play. You know what I mean? Like, there's just... You can't see it on that level. So, I mean, like, look, this is kind of a fucked up thing to end off on, but, like, even shitty people have something to offer you sometimes. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Mahatma Gandhi supported lynching black people and he molested girls. He did. That was the person he was. Does that take away any less from the truth of what he said, that you have to be the change you wish to see in the world? No. Because no matter who he is as a human being, that's a divine truth that is, like, very real. And directly channeled. Because even the worst of us are capable of good things. And we need to get past this. The worst of us are capable of sometimes immense good, or even a little bit of good. And sometimes the best of us are capable of the worst evils. And you need to be okay with that. Like, you need to stop looking for reasons why you should be against other people. And even other people that I'm seeing, like, talking about the Trump thing and stuff. And there's been good reasons. I haven't really delved too deeply into that. Because, quite frankly, it's not really my circus in many respects. Like, I know certain things. I don't know enough of it, but even if I did, quite frankly, I wouldn't trust you guys to know it. Because look what you're doing with it. You got lightworkers on both ends, some thinking he's chosen and some thinking he's the Antichrist, when it's kind of both. It's kind of both. And you can't get that because you're still stuck in this. They're like, and then you're like hurling like insults at people, like camel toe and stuff. Like, I'm sorry, are you adding a net good when you say shit like that to the world? You're not. I'm not saying like forgive these people or whatever. I mean, like, you probably should, but hold people accountable always. But like, always hold yourself accountable too. You got to do that. You got to do that much, okay? And holding people accountable does not mean that you then have the right to be like unnecessarily cruel. Like, I mean, like, listen, they might not deserve it, but like, you can at least hold yourself to a better standard, because it's not really helpful to your cause to fill yourself with rage when someone's wrong about a fact about like an entity you have a particular attachment to. And I don't mean that necessarily in the parasitic sense. I just mean like, you might be enamored with certain entities and, you know, we love you for that. Okay, that's nice. But like, sometimes you take it too far. You take it too far and you speak for us, and it's not nice. And it's like, even if you're not wrong, like, we don't like the ways in which you go about it sometimes. And you need to be better about that. Like, and you need to stop looking down on certain people for getting vaccinations and people for not getting that. You stop it, okay? You gotta stop that shit. I'm done playing with this, okay? I don't want to be your mom for fucking ever, okay? Like, I'm sorry. You need to leave the nest. You need to figure this shit out. Oh my God. Like, you have the tools. You're so close. You're so close, but you need... At this point, it's less about the knowing and it's more about, like, just clean your heart, honey. Just keep your heart clean. Your heart knows the truth. Forget what you think you know, okay? You're like, well, my heart thinks this or knows this. Like, if you say so, but, like, you have to then ask yourself the uncomfortable question, why does my heart feel so angry when I feel like somebody's wrong about a fact, about a deity or something? Like, I get it. Like, you don't, like, you're expressing a lot of our frustrations we felt of like people lying about us and our intentions and stuff, but like, you're not helping the case when you tell people, like, because then you're like shake their confidence in themselves, and then they're gonna think like, well, I guess I don't know anything, and then they're not gonna want to like connect with these deities, and they're gonna doubt and think it's a demon talking to them. And like, sometimes, like, listen, that happens, okay? That fucking happened. That's the thing I'll talk about maybe eventually. That happened to me like way before, and that was a problem. But we're at an age now where we're trying to like get you back to us, but like, you can't. You vibrationally, it's not a punishment thing. You need to vibrate on a frequency that we can also vibe with. Like, you have to like remove this shit from your heart that feels so angry and antagonistic towards certain things. Like, not everything is all evil. Not everything is, look, not even all of Christianity is evil. Like, there are kernels in there that are good, okay? Because the source was ultimately good. Like, I mean, even though they had different people facilitating it, right? They were not good. It's just kind of like there are certain forces that have to happen, and you can't change that they're going to happen. So all you can do is change the direction in which they go. You know, that's what you can do, and that's what God's done with religion. We couldn't change that was going to happen, so we did our best to kind of infiltrate it in kind of sneaky ways, where we were like injecting like love and truth inside, and the people who had the right intention would hear and feel and resonate with the parts of it that were true, and the ones that were not. Like that's just things are not so well defined, and they don't have to be. Okay, learn to be okay with that. The world is mental. It's the idea of physicality is it gives you the illusion of well-defined things, but things have never been well-defined, not ever. Physicality is just that. It's the illusion of something well-defined, but it's not. It's never been, and you need to be okay with that.